President Trump's FEMA proposals and feud with Governor Gavin Newsom could gut California's disaster response, dooming communities across the state to what one expert described as a, quote, apocalyptic scenario. Since devastating fires tore through Los Angeles earlier this year, killing at least 30 people and destroying over 16,000 structures, FEMA has allocated billions of dollars to help LA recover. Those kinds of disasters are growing more frequent and severe, with California seeing an 800% increase in the number of billion-dollar disasters in the past decade compared to the 1980s. But the federal assistance California receives may be drastically reduced for future disasters. Trump has implied that his feud with Newsom threatens the approval of $40 billion in wildfire aid. His administration's proposed changes to FEMA, which were outlined in an internal memo in April, also endanger the future of federal disaster assistance. And not just for California. One of those proposals is restricting the share of disaster costs paid by the federal government at 75%, instead of allowing the president to raise the federal cost share to 100%, as Joe Biden did for the LA fires. Another proposal quadruples the amount of damage that needs to be suffered in a disaster before FEMA steps in. That would hike California's damage threshold from roughly $75 million to nearly $300 million per disaster. Such reduced funding would be directly felt by future disaster victims, according to Biden's senior advisor on climate resiliency, Lori Schumann.
What this is going to translate into is lost lives, lost structures, communities that are unable to continue to sustain the impacts.
LA County officials predict the wildfire recovery efforts will last decades, and that FEMA assistance will be critical to those operations, leaving many survivors and advocates terrified of what Trump's continued undermining of FEMA will mean for LA's burn-scarred communities, and the many others that are in the growing path of disasters. A FEMA spokesperson did not directly respond to questions from Capitol and Maine about anticipated funding cuts and potential impacts on state and local communities, but said the agency, quote, asserts that disasters are best managed when they're federally supported, state-managed, and locally executed.